Okay, once again, we're going to look at dividing fractions, and this time we're going to use mixed numbers. And we're going to take, for example, let's take 3.5, and we're going to divide it by 2 1/4. All right. The first thing I do, I follow the same process as I do with multiplying fractions. The first thing I do is I have to make everything all fractions first. No matter what you do, before we were just working with fractions, so we didn't have to worry about that. But now that I have mixed numbers, I know that in order to multiply and divide fractions, I must have all fractions. So I'm going to take my denominators here, right here. I'm gonna multiply them, and I'm gonna multiply them by my whole numbers. Oops, sorry about that. I'm gonna multiply them by my whole numbers. Let's put it in a different color here. I'm gonna multiply the denominators by the whole numbers, and then I'm going to add my numerators. Okay, so I'm gonna add my numerators after that. So this one would look like 2, my denominator, times my whole number, plus my numerator. And then all over 2. And then I'm going to have the denominator 4 times my whole number plus my numerator all over 4. Okay, so let's take a look at that. There's 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So 7/2 divided by 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9/4. All right, so basically I just took this number right here, and I turn them to improper fractions, so I don't have mixed numbers anymore. I have 7/2 divided by 9/4. All right, now and then what I need to do is I'm going to use the keep, change, and flip method first. So I have keep, I'm going to change, I'm going to flip. This is the first method I'm going to use, and it's probably the most common and perhaps the easiest. But I'm going to keep. So what I'm going to keep, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this down here so I can rewrite this fraction. 7/2 divided by 9/4. All right. I'm going to keep my first number. So I'm going to keep my first fraction. I'm going to keep this one. So I'm going to have 7/2 down here. I'm going to change. What do I change? Well, that's easy. I change my division sign here to a multiplication sign. Okay, and then I'm going to change. And then I'm going to flip. I'm going to flip my third fraction, my second fraction, to its inverse, or its reciprocal. So the reciprocal or the inverse of 9/4 is 4/9. All right, then I just multiply across. I know that the next thing I want to do is I want to simplify. So I know that if I simplify this, I can rewrite the 4 here as a product of prime. See that 4 there? I can rewrite it as a product of prime numbers as 2/2 divided by 9, and that way I can cross cancel. Remember, when you cross cancel, you can cross out any numerator with any denominator. And if I write my numbers as product of primes, it's easy to see what they have in common. Oops, there was a 2 down there. So I know that I have a 2 here and I have a 2 here, so I can get rid of them and cross them out. So I'm going to cross those out, poof, and then I'll put a 1 in their places. Okay, and then I can just multiply across. 7 times 1 times 2 is 7, or 14 ninths. All right, so I have 14 ninths. Then I can take that and I can convert it. So if I have 14 ninths, I can pull out the whole number, and I end up with 5 ninths. So I have 1 here and 5 ninths. Okay, that's the keep, change, and flip method. So basically you're taking a division problem and you're turning it into a multiplication problem. Now let's take this and we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to do it like we did last time. We're going to use the same method that we do 3.5 divided by 2 1/4. Let's rewrite that. So 3.5, 3 1/2 divided by 2 1/4. We're going to take this, and instead of using the keep, change, and flip method, we're going to do it by finding common denominators. Now this is easy because when you add and subtract fractions, you have to find common denominators. But I still have to start with finding all fractions. So I'm going to rewrite this as the denominator times the whole number. So I'm going to have the denominator, I'm going to have my denominator times my whole number plus my numerator all over 2. That's the first one, divided by denominator times my whole number plus my numerator all over 4. So when I do that, I have 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So I have 7 halves divided by 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9 quarters. Okay, now if I want to find, instead of the keep, change, and flip, I'm going to find common denominators first. So let me find common denominators. So to do that, I'm going to rewrite this like it was a multiplication or like it was an addition problem. And I'm going to have 7 over 2 divided by 9/4. And I'm just doing this so I can multiply and get my common denominators more easily. So I'm going to count by my denominators, 2 and 4, until they meet. And I find that they meet at 4. So I'm going to use my 2, 2 times. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 2. And I use my 4 one time, so I don't need to do anything with it. Or I can multiply by 1 over 1 if I want, and it comes out the same. So I'm going to have 14. Multiply my numerators, multiply my denominators, and I'm going to keep, and I'm going to put it side by side, 9/4. All right. Now, I've done that. I have common denominators. So if I have common denominators, they're both 4s, just like in regular division with whole numbers. For example, if I have 14 divided by 9, that would actually be 14 over 1 divided by 9 over 1. I have common denominators, so all I do is I put the left over the right numerator over the right numerator, and I would have 14/9. Okay? Well, the same thing is true with fractions. If I have common denominators, which I do, I put the left numerator over the right numerator. And I'm going to end up with 14/9, just like I did with the keep, change, and flip method. All right, so you can divide with keep, change, or flip, or you can divide by finding common denominators and put the left numerator over the right numerator. Then I'm going to pull out my whole number, and I'm going to end up with 5/9. So I end up with 1 and 5/9. All right, so let me review. There's 2 different ways to divide fractions, and both require you to put them all in fraction form. So I need all fractions, so I'm going to write that down. I need all fractions. All right. I can either divide fractions by keep, change, and flip. Keep the first fraction, change the second fraction. Keep the first fraction, change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and flip the second fraction. So for example, so I don't confuse you, let's take 7 halves again and 9/4. I'm going to keep the first fraction, change the sign to the multiplication, and flip as I rewrite, keep erasing, flip this fraction, so it would look like 7 over 2 times 4/9. All right, and it would give me, cross that out, it goes once and this goes twice, so it'll give me 14/9. Okay, minus 9 over 9, 5/9. So I have 1 and 5/9. 1 and 5/9. Okay, let's keep, change, and flip. Now, as a review, finding common denominators. Okay, I'm going to multiply this. Oops, I'm going to multiply this right here by 2 over 2. So I'm going to end up with 14/4 divided by 9/4. I have common denominators now. So instead of keep, change, and flip, common denominators, instead of keep, change, and flip, I'm just going to put the left numerator over the right numerator, so I have 14 ninths. And I pull out my 9, my whole number, 5 ninths, and then with 1 and 5 ninths. 1 and 5 ninths. So it doesn't matter how you do it. Keep, change, and flip, or find common denominators and put your left numerator over your right numerator. But no matter what, no matter what you do, what method you use, you have to have all fractions first. Have fun with it and play with the different methods.